Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Learn and grow from every single encounter with women. Every single encounter. Now, one of the reasons I have the perspective that I do about women and relationships is, well, especially about women, is I've learned from every single encounter with them. Now, I've said several times before, I've probably talked with thousands of women. I can't even really give you a number, and we're talking about going back to childhood. But let me be clear, because somebody hit me up privately and thought, well, what percentage of them did you get? Well, first of all, I don't think in those terms, because yeah, I talk with thousands, but I ain't try to hit on thousands. One of the mistakes many men make, they only want to deal with a woman if they're interested in sex with her. But the reality is you're going to encounter women in situations where sex is impossible, and really it shouldn't be the first thing on your mind. See, understand something. Just going, and women that encountered in school, shoot, at the babysitters when I was 4. Indeed, my mother said when I was 2 years old, I would like walk over to the neighbor's house with a daisy, knock on the door and be like, here. But just every single encounter, and then as you know, in schools, even in high school, I went to an all-boys school, but you know, when socialized, you know, at this local Catholic church I was a member of, there was a teen club, and going to the parties and everything, and plus we would have plays at the school, and young girls would come up there for the plays, you know, to be a part of the plays, and then college, and then at the graduate level, and then just in businesses, and then I've said on my business channel, my money channel, I've been a vendor. Probably about 80 to 90% of my customers who bought stuff from me were women. And you have to talk with them. And see, each encounter could be everything from just some brief, just very brief, say, hey, how you doing or something, to full-blown conversations, full-blown relationships. But you learn a lot. See, the thing is, every single time you encounter one, think about how they responded to you. And you actually learn a lot more when it's not a relationship thing. Yeah, you learn a lot, but you learn a lot more. Then you start seeing stuff. You start seeing a pattern. See, I know women because of the patterns. After a while, it was just like, oh, she doing this, she doing this. In fact, the last time I've been totally surprised by something some woman did or how she responded to me was in the 90s. I remember the specific woman too. And I actually told her, I said, you know, you did something I never experienced before. I was like, okay, you showed me something new. I remember her totally, the total situation. But even then, so after that, when I saw it again, it's like, boom. Because the thing is, first of all, you learn how women respond to you. You learn, and you don't get mad. You just you got to kind of step back and say, okay, let me just look at this. All right, you figure it out. You know, you figure, okay, this woman, how she respond to me is more in that friendship tip. It's more in that polite tip, you know, or when women smile or something, you know, sometimes it's just an unconscious thing. Sometimes it's just being polite, and sometimes she's genuinely interested. And then, you know, take it even further to the relationship part. Which women tend to like show an interest in you? Okay, what they have in common. You know, I always talk about a tribe and everything. Okay, what they have in common. How do they look? You know, like I know exactly, I could take a look at a woman and say, okay, she had been receptive. Like just recently, I met this young lady that was at a bookstore, an author. And I was just like, now I don't know her situation and everything, but I say, okay, she generally looked like that type who would be generally receptive, you know, to me anyway. See, you got to learn how they respond to you. You got to learn, and after a while, you figure it out. It's like, oh, okay. Like I can look at a woman and say, okay, this is how she's going to respond to me in general. You know, this can always be some other stuff. But then if you start paying attention, all of a sudden, even those instances where you totally surprised will become less and less. Like I say, okay, this type of woman with this type of body, she's gonna respond to me a certain way. Then you throw in social class. Shout out Master Teacher BGS, who talks about the octane models, the different classes and everything of women and how they behave. Anybody who challenges that, I say you haven't dealt with different classes. Because if you deal with different classes, you start seeing stuff. See, that's something else too. See, I know about it. You have dealt with different women in different classes, so you say, okay, this woman on this class, she's gonna respond to this or this, but this one, she's gonna behave in this way. You know, in fact, I always challenge anybody who always challenge me on that, try to challenge on that class thing. I say, how many different classes of women have you actually dealt with? Remember, I got, I got education, both a college degree and a degree at the graduate level. You know, so it's like, okay, you dealt with those women, you saw how they behaved, you saw how they interacted, worked in professional environments, worked in retail environments. So I'm encountering the women, I'm saying, okay, boom, boom, they behave in this way, okay. This is a general thing, because the class thing is real. Any sociologist, any true sociologist, hell, a social worker will tell you, yeah, a psychologist or a therapist, it's something. Even different races, women of different religions, you start taking in, every time you encounter a woman, just take in every single thing about her as much as you can. As much as you can. Yeah, you can't take in her personal personality and everything, but what's the pattern? How's she dressed? You know, is she wearing her clothes as a shield, which is like she's not really showing her body, or is she wearing it as a shield, showing her body, even if she don't need to, you know? But it's like, oh, okay, so these women, they when they do this, boom, all of a sudden you start reading the signals. And then, you know, body language, you start reading the body language, okay. This woman ain't interested. This was her body language in relation to how she was talking to me, how she was standing. This woman, we end up having sex. Okay, what did she do? In fact, let's break this down to just relationships. Think about every single woman you've had sex with. And yeah, some of y'all be coming on here talking about, yeah, you've been with 15 women, you've been with 300 women, all of that stuff, right? You shouldn't have any questions then. You shouldn't have any questions. In fact, this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but there's always some guy come on here in the comments. You know, of course they don't have any profile pic or something, or there's some cartoon or something, and say, yeah, I've been with this many women. But then they'll ask a question about a woman. It was like 300 something women. Shit, you should be have your own channel or something. Because then you encounter different women. You know, you should know something. You know, in fact, that's why I always say, go out and talk to women. Say hi to at least 3 women a day, and then pay attention to their responses, how they respond, what they look like, their racial background. Are they wearing any religious symbols? How are they wearing their clothes? As a shield to deflect attention from their body, or as a magnet to get you focused on their, I haven't said this in a while, breastises, or their butt dunk, you know? Are they wearing a lot of makeup? Are they plain? You start paying attention, and all of a sudden it's like pattern, pattern, pattern. And you're doing it for yourself. That's the best thing. Because, okay, anybody can come and tell you something. Like you get guys, you know, call them dating coaches, advisors, or just content creators. They can say what's up. But then ultimately for yourself, you have to know what works for you. Which women are paying attention to you? Which women are resistant to you? You know, and it's not going to be the same as the next person. You know, that's why sometimes when some guys ask me about some stuff, I can say, well, okay, this is what I've seen in general, but you got to say, okay, how does that apply to you specifically? You know, like brick house women, they real friendly to me. But then women who ain't quite have that build, they somewhat with me. Got to work a little bit harder, even if I'm not even interested. They can be a little standoffish to me. Or women who are extremely top heavy, tend to be problematic with me, you know? Or tend to come at me in such a way where it's kind of, they got a control dynamic. So it's like, that worked for me. But for the next man, that's perfect. she perfect, you know? That's why ultimately you got to figure out your experience and then learn from it. Even when you have a bad experience, let's say, okay, this type of woman gave me a bad experience. You shouldn't have to do it again. You should have learned from that experience. That way, when you see the signs, you start picking it up and say, okay, this might be a problem. This is how I got to respond to it. But that's the thing. That's why I say you got to interact. I mean, I can give you advice. I can give you all of that. But ultimately, you got to say how it responds to you. Even body game. Because like I say, you always say, some guys say, well, you got to be lean, but some women like big men. If you a big man, I know some serious players, and they got some, they are stocky and everything. That's no joke. Because I've seen it, and I've dealt with women. They say, oh yeah, they gotta have some meat on it. Shoot. Brittany, when she was here talking about her view of body game, she said she likes some meat on a guy. You know? But then another woman, she gonna be like, oh nah, he gotta be slim. For the man, that just means he gotta see which women are responding to his body. That's it. You don't have to have a specific body, because it might not be in you to have it. You gotta see what women respond to your body. That's why I say just get your best body. But only way you're gonna know that is you gotta learn from each experience. And I'm gonna be real. I'm just gonna put this out here. No man who's saying he been with so many women should ever say they having trouble or any complaints. They shouldn't. If you had sex with so many women, that means you should figure out which women are gonna be responsive to you. You know, and figure out where they're gonna be and everything from your experience. That's how I know a lot of guys be capping. You know, that's how I know. Because as soon as I start seeing they'll say like, oh, I've been with 300 women. And then as soon as I started seeing the complaints and everything like that, I was just like, you've been with that many women, but ain't figured out how to just be with the ones who ain't bringing you problems. Come on. But anyway, though, learn and grow from every single experience. Even the rejections. After a while, you figure out, oh, okay, usually I get rejected when I'm wearing this and doing this or this type of woman and everything. You know? This is how they respond to me. You figure it out. Like I said, I can pretty much look at a woman and know, I can read her class, everything, even her body build and everything, and say, okay, this could be a wow, you know? And then look at another one, she's like, boom, just totally friendly. Very simple. Any man can do that. Because ultimately, and I've said this before, you know, you got to develop your own style of game. All I can do is give perspective. Any dating coach or content creator can just give perspective. Ultimately, you got to see what works for you. And ultimately, you got to like interact with women to know how different women are going to respond to you in different situations. You got to pay attention to every little thing about the encounter. Every little thing. Where are you at that moment? What were you doing? What were you wearing? How you were talking, everything. And then which women were responding to it and how they responded to it. All right? So anyway, that's all I have for right now. I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.